A very good morning and a warm welcome to all delegates joining us today on this online platform for Week 12 series Build Safe and Secure Bharat, a 25 weeks purely knowledge sharing webinar series which has commenced from 26th of July 2020 and has been successfully progressing each Sunday. We are thankful for all your support, patience, and personal time for joining us today. We are sure you will find this worthy and are excited as well as curious to attend the webinar. In case you have any questions or queries, we request you to please type using the Q&A or raise hand. During the webinar, also keep an eye on the chat section for links on our previous sessions and to join East Core Group community for case studies, newsletters, advisories on fire safety security. The session will be led by Mr. Hemant Khadse, our group CEO. Before we begin, let us proceed with a small prayer.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Come on, chant this one. असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Very good morning. Warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to. Afrin, I'm audible clearly now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. In fact, yesterday I was a little panicked because I was not feeling well. A lot of cold and cough, so I was a little worried. But that's how when your purpose is clean and clear, your universe conspires. So thankfully, yesterday night I could sleep well and I'm feeling better. So um, I'm glad to connect with you again. It's almost we are in a half of the webinar series that we are in a completion. It's a 25-week session that we have already planned for, and it's now 12th week. So we are actually on a mid of this important webinar series now. I'm really glad and excited with a lot of involvement, participation from various corners, not only from India, even outside India, people are joining it. So I'm really glad. Keep asking questions because that's what this uh, motivation will continue. Don't keep any hesitation within you not to ask any question during the session because that's an advantage. Otherwise, you can watch anytime, any day. But the advantage of live session is that you can interact, you can devote focused way, and you can have a better chance to speak up, ask questions, queries relevant to the topic, so we can clarify it instantly, and we can have more insight on that topic. So that's the whole advantage of all this webinar series. And if you look at all these things, we have specifically planned taking into consideration of almost all customers because they are the one who are actually uh, wanting to know what is the fundamental of the system that they maintain, what is the objective of the system that they have, and how they can actually make it better. The ignorance is not on technicalities. I mean, why most of the people consider that I am not from the domain, so why should I get in? It's not question of having your technical qualification of knowing it. It's only your acumen, it's your attitude, it's your mindset in understanding the whole concept fundamentally, so that you can have an attachment to that system. It could be fire protection system, it could be any security, or it could be any safety system that you have, or even equipment that you may have. Unless until you understand that fundamentally why it is sitting in my place, what is it that I'm supposed to do, why I'm maintaining that, then probably things will be totally different. So whole intention and objective of this webinar series to upgrade and upscale your awareness level. Doesn't matter you are from a security background, you need to know fire. Doesn't matter you are in a fire industry, but then you need to know the security side of it, because all safety security are actually complementing each other. And that's how we started all this series and understanding and taking you through step by step how codes and standards are going to help, how design engineering is going to help. And now we are specifically focusing in last 2 to 3 weeks time how you build a strategy, how you build a fire strategy in place. And next week we are going to be focusing on a security strategy, because that's another strategy and important element of your organization. Security, mostly people stick to only CCTV and access control, but not go beyond that. And same goes with the fire. People just go with fire hydrant, fire alarm, sprinkler, and that's about it. Their knowledge level is only limited to what they can see in red. But there are many concepts, there are many theories, there are a lot of engineering, there are a lot of insights that we need to understand. So that's my humble request. Keep your questions ready. Doesn't matter even if it is for the prior session, previous sessions, you can always feel free to ask, raise your hand. And secondly, importantly, make sure that you are connected to the group that we have, because that's the one group specifically we have created, not for good morning and good evening and hellos. It is specifically intended for sharing the information, knowledge, and the updates that we have on this webinar series and even in general. So make sure that you click on the link, connect to the Telegram group that we have. And also we have got a Facebook group wherein also you can have, but best way is that connect with the Telegram group so that you can always get an update whatever we have. Good. So let's fundamentally refresh our information. Since last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we have spent on understanding how you build a balanced fire protection strategy. And we looked at it very carefully and broadly, that fire protection strategy is having a very sole objective is to protect life and property, is to have the business continuity in the whole organization. So these are the sole motives of building that strategy. Now, when you start working on it as a user, you always have two sides of the strategy. One is the prevention strategy. That means it should not occur. What are the things that I need to do so that it gets prevented in occurring that situation? So prevention strategy is the one that is contributing very heavily, and it's very important ingredient of your strategy. And the second and equally important strategy is your manage the fire. So how do you manage the fire in case occurs? Because you really do not have any control. That even if you have so much of good technology, systems, organization culture in place, that the prevention is very, very strong, but still any event can happen. It can be deliberate, it can be accidental, it can be anything. So you have actually no control on having that incident happen in your place. It could be major, minor, whatever. The effect could be different, but you cannot really protect from not occurring that event. So you need to also have equal weightage on manage the fire condition. That means how do you manage it? So there are two sides or two components of manage the fire. What we looked at is the defense in place. You defend at the place and you move the hazard. So in that case, we looked at the various component. Fire alarm system is the one that is going to be a very, very major important element of your manage the fire condition. So what are those ingredients and what are those elements that we need to have in place? What are the considerations that you need to take into place in getting that fire alarm system at your place? And what are the features? Not necessarily that it is just wiring, connecting detectors and having a panel at some place, some corner, and you leave it. It's a life safety system. So there are a lot of features, benefits, and there are a lot of integration possible. And it is not doing only the smoke detection, it is going to give you a lot of other benefits, like exactly what I mentioned, giving the example of mobile. It's no more just a mobile that you use it for only making calls and receiving calls. It has many other purposes which are also important and applicable in and relevant today in the industry. Same thing for fire alarm system also. So make sure that when you design a fire alarm system, you have all components integrated. It is also going to talk to your PA. It is also going to talk to your smoke management system. It is also going to talk to your egress system. It is also going to talk to your HVAC systems, fire protection systems, elevator systems, emergency lighting systems, pumps, so many parameters. So that's very, very important that you need to take into consideration all and build your strategy, evolving that elements for the fire alarm system. Sprinkler system is again an important element. It is no more just a piping and connect whatever sprinkler that you have. It's a science, it's engineering. And again, you need to see that your systems are taken care into the right way. You have a right coverage, you have a right type of sprinklers, so that in case of any event that happens in your facility, it could be basement, it could be any area which is enclosed, your sprinkler system is going to take care of that protection well automatically. I didn't get time to go into the depth, but today maybe if at all we get some time, I will give you some insight on sprinkler design engineering, because that's a topic that I left out because of the time constraint. But just remind me in case I forgot. I'll talk about the sprinkler engineering aspects and what are the tools that are used in making sure that your sprinkler system is adequate and effective. After that, we also looked at the other integration part, and then we started talking about the smoke management. Now today I'm going to have a deep dive discussion on smoke management. Till that time, any questions in your mind so far, so that I can address that. You can raise the hand. I can allow you to unmute. In case you have any questions, doubt, concern, query till now, whatever we discussed about fire protection strategies. Yeah. So you can raise your hand in case you have no questions. Wow. Okay. Fair enough. So if there are no questions, I will get into the topic, which is your smoke management system. Now, first of all, let me ask you one question. Now, since you didn't have a question, let me ask you, what do you mean by smoke management? What does it mean by smoke management? Anyone want to share the concept of smoke management? What do you mean by smoke management? Yeah, anybody? Yeah, okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, very good morning.
Good morning.
In case of fire, the smoke should be evacuated in a proper manner, basically.
Yeah, smoke evacuation. So maybe that's what you're saying. Is what is meant by smoke management, correct?
Yeah.
That's not a wrong answer, but it's not a complete answer. So can anybody extend that answer further? What is said is that smoke evacuation or extraction is the right word, is the one that means smoke management. So anyone else has any opinion or view? Okay, Mr. Reddy is saying designed to venting of smoke from building in case of fire. Yeah, that's what precisely Mr. Kiran also said. Venting, yeah, extracting the smoke out of the building. Yeah. Let me see whether I can run the poll here, um, so that but that's mm, okay. Let me see whether you can still answer. I have got a one question. It is a little technical, so only probably technical people can answer it. Let me see whether you can apply the mind. The question here is, depending upon the building construction, fill in the blank, may be used in a high rise or in a basement. One is positive pressure ventilation, hydraulic ventilation, forced ventilation, both vertical and horizontal ventilation. You have to click one answer, which is you think which is right. It's a little tricky question, probably. So unless until you know the concept well, you'll not be able to answer it. But then I just thought that we'll check the level. So whether it's a high rise or a basement, um, what do you think it will be a better strategy? Positive pressure, hydraulic, forced ventilation, or both vertical ventilation? Yeah, okay. So let me just end the poll here. So the answer is here. It's equal percentage people have said forced or both vertical and horizontal. And then there are certain people who are saying that positive pressure ventilation. So good. I think question was a little tricky because I didn't only just mention the basement. It could be high-rise building or basement. And what is the best strategy in terms of smoke management? Are you only looking at forced, or are you looking at vertical or horizontal both? So correct answer is both vertical and horizontal ventilation, not just forced ventilation. Yeah. So thank you. Okay. So let me just. Yeah, Mr. Wahid Abdul is saying it will control the movement of smoke during fire. Very good. So he has added one word called control. Yeah, so that's very important. So essentially, smoke management is all about how you monitor and control your smoke. Because all of us know that smoke actually is the killing element for people in case of fire because of the toxicity. And also because of visibility, right? So essentially, you need to smoke management essentially does three functions. One is it gives you a visibility in case of fire so that people can evacuate the building safely, speedily. The most critical element or objective of smoke management is to create clarity, create visibility on the escape path or egress path so that people can easily leave the place on time. The second function that also has been done is toxic gases. So how do you see that toxic gases are contained? And I'll talk about it, the compartmentation, the concept that is the one which is very, very closely associated with smoke management is all about. What it does that if you have a fire, essentially you will have a lot of toxic gases released, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and so on and so forth. How do you ensure that those gases are contained in that place for some time? It doesn't go out of the facility horizontally and vertically both, because that gases might give you a suffocation for the people or breathing problem, and that could cause a danger than actual fire. So this is the second element that smoke management does. And third is what? Your controlling temperature. Because the moment of excessive smoke is going to have in a place, it will generate a lot of heat, and that heat will generate ignition, and then again it will propagate the fire furthermore. So essentially, smoke management is nothing but a monitoring and control. That means if you have a, a fire at any point in time at any place, how do you move that? How do you control that path in a way that it is not affecting the building and it gives you tenability to the building, so that fire officers or firefighters can come and rescue the people and they do not have also obstruction of the smoke. So this is what essentially the smoke management is all about. Now there are various different strategies. We looked at it last time. What are those strategies that are in place, which has commonly been used in most of the places? Dilution is the one that is again one of the strategies. Let's not use the word effective or efficient. All the strategies are depending on your type of the building, type of the occupancy, and the hazard associated. And not necessarily that it will have only one strategy at one facility. It could be multiple smoke management strategies you may have because of the building construction itself. But the common strategy also is about dilution. That means your in and out of the smoke is going to be maintained. You are keeping that in the form of either a natural ventilation or ventilation system mechanically in such a way that your supply and exhaust are going to be maintained equally. So in case of any smoke that happens, it gets diluted with the amount of fresh air, which do not have any smoke elements. At the same time, the air with the smoke filled, it will get diluted. So you have smoke-free air coming in, and you have a smoke-filled air going out. That's how you manage the smoke, and that's how you are going to create the dilution in your place. And it could be basement, it could be any area that you have. Second thing that also is very common, and we'll discuss in detail all these strategies here in coming time. Next slide is about pressurization. Now that's a very, very technical word which is commonly been used in a lot of codes and standards. And mostly we all know, whosoever are part of the fire safety management, stairwell pressurization is the one that is very, very commonly been used. So pressurization is nothing but you inject the fresh air externally into the confined area, and you build that area little higher pressure than the adjoining area, so that the smoke will not enter into that area. And specifically when the concept is called stairwell pressurization, that means stairwell being a safest or most critical area of the building, which has to be smoke free all the time, and specifically in case of fire. How do you ensure that smoke free area? You inject the air, you create the positive pressure in such a way that the adjoining lobby pressure or a corridor pressure is less than the stairwell pressure. So you create a positive pressure, and smoke is always going to be not passing from low to high, it is always high to low. Yeah. So you create that strategy in a building which is going to it is not going to be extracting smoke. It is not going to be venting any smoke. Pressurization is just creating the pressure belt so that the smoke doesn't get into the egress area. Clear? And the third one is exhaust. It's a part of your ventilation system in such a way that you are creating a negative pressure by taking the smoke out of the building or corridor. It could be lobby. It could be any area where you feel that is a zone for me, which is very, very important. And if I create a negative pressure by installing those exhaust fan of right rating, essentially I'm going to create a negative pressure and smoke will be venting out of the building. See, in all the possibilities, what we are trying to do here is that we are using actually the air itself to manage the air, isn't it? Yeah, we are essentially managing the air itself in managing the air. So when you use the pressurization, essentially we are using the external air to create that shield. Exhaust fan, it is taking the air outside the air. So your ambient air is one and your building air is two. So what you are doing is that taking out of the building, the smoke which is venting out from the exhaust process. So essentially, you are managing this smoke in such a way, not necessarily by natural way, but mechanical way. Natural ventilation is also there when you create an opening in suppose basement or any area where you are trying to allow the smoke free air to come in, which is going to be dilution. Yeah, in the dilution process, your smoke is going to be not going to have that impact, and it will have less damage to the building or aqueous spaces. So these are the systems that you need to engineer it. There is specific calculations required. There is specific engineering required. How you manage your ventilation well. Yeah, and again on top of it, why it is so complex system to understand and implement is because it is talking to multiple sources. When you are looking at the smoke management system, it is not related to only HVAC guys. It is not only limited to HVAC engineers. It is also going to take the input from the fire and life safety people. It is also going to take the input from civil engineers of the building. What is the rating that you have? And when you install the system, first of all, the challenge is engineering, and then second challenge is installation. And we'll talk about it. What are the challenges during the upcoming series when you touch upon the construction phase and the acceptance phase, which is our flow of the webinar. Right now we are on engineering phase, so we'll talk about it. But smoke management as a philosophy, it is very important that you need to engineer first. You need to install it based on engineering, and you need to make sure that it is working in operation based on engineering. Because if you have a system in place, but if you keep it in manual, it will not do the same function. It could be your basement ventilation system. If you keep it on manual mode, you have a duct system, your ductless system, doesn't matter. But ultimately, when you keep it on manual mode, in case of emergency, it is not going to do the job. So engineering, construction, and the operation, all three elements are very, very closely associated. That's number one. Number two, very important topic, and mostly people do not pay attention to it. How the system is going to talk to my HVAC and my sprinkler system. Why it has to be closely associated? Because when you have a sprinkler system in place and you expect that sprinkler system to operate at certain degree temperature, say 68 degrees centigrade, essentially your ventilation system is going to be coming on less efficiency mode, because water will be start spreading in that area, so that the smoke ventilation will also have a less efficiency. So how you are going to coordinate between your HVAC system and your sprinkler system operation? Which one to come first? Are you expecting ventilation to come after sprinkler? That may not be the right idea. So your integration, building system integration should have the sequence in place. Automation also should have a sequence in place, so that it doesn't affect on each other. It doesn't overlap on each other. Yeah. So that's a very, very important parameter, and mostly engineers, just because they do not have that responsibility on the contract, they don't have access to the other part of the building engineers, this point gets eliminated or doesn't get captured in actual construction stage or commissioning stage. But it's very important that how much sequence is going to be there. Even detection, sprinkler, and installation, all three has to be coordinated in sequence. Because when you do that in sequence, then only it will have the correct implementation and the effectiveness of your smoke management. Yeah. Let me just quickly give you the snapshot of the ingredients when you talk about the smoke controls. You can use smoke control management or smoke management, whatever terminology that is, again, in the similar terminology. But this is a very, very little complex, but I'll make it simple so that everybody can understand what this system is all about. So essentially what I mentioned is that in any typical building, when we are focusing smoke, that means we are focusing on fire emergency. Then how do I control that smoke so that it will not hamper to my life? It remains there or it gets exhausted out of the building. There are only two possibilities I'm trying to create. Remain there, that means contain there in the same place, or taking out from the building. Simple. These are the only two philosophies or objectives that we are trying to do. Now, how to do it? This is what is all it's about engineering. Yeah. So when you look at the smoke control systems, what are the systems that gets coordinated or gets communicated? Here, first and foremost is the fire alarm system. Your triggering point of ventilation system or smoke extraction system or smoke control system must be coming from your fire alarm detection system. It cannot be manual, because if it is manual, you're going to lose a lot of time. And if it is going to come from a reliable fire alarm source, fire alarm system, it will have more effective. So first and foremost, that is going to be system that is going to communicating is your smoke alarm system. Yeah. Let me see whether somebody has raised a hand. Yeah, Mr. Carlton. You have any question? You are not audible. Not audible. Can you just repeat what you said? No, still not clear. Can you just write in Q&A so that I can look at it? I'm not able to hear it clearly. Just write it in Q&A. I'll read it. Okay, so I'll lower the hand so that. Okay, so let me continue. I'll read the question in between. So fire alarm is the one that is the most important system that needs to communicate to your smoke control system. Then when you are looking at your pressurization as a concept, which is again part of your smoke control management, essentially there are multiple areas that you can have a pressurization done. And again, it has to be in line with the codes and practices. It has to be in line with the engineering practices. So you can't pressurize each and every area, and you can't ignore each and every area also. So you need to have a balanced technique when you are applying the pressurization technique. Now, consider the area which is the most critical as the stairwell. So stairwell pressurization is the one that essentially what we are trying to do is you are creating a positive head pressure in the stairwell, which is higher pressure than your lobby area. You create that differentiation. Now in India, it is the 50 Pascal, which is the difference that is required. That means in a staircase, you inject the pressure up to 80 Pascal. Assumingly in the lobby area next to it or adjoining area is going to be operating at 50 Pascal. So difference is going to be 30 Pascal. So that is how we are going to be building your area. 80 and 30. So that means 50 Pascal is the difference that you are going to have in your stairwell pressurization. Same goes with your lift. If at all, again based on the height and adjoining area, you can also pressurize the hoistway, which is the elevator. That again specifically it has to be injected at 50 Pascal. The difference has to be 25 to 30 Pascals. So again, you are going to have that pressure in the lift well so that smoke will not get inside the lift well. So we are again creating a layer between lift, between stairwell and lobby. So essentially what we are trying to do with the pressurization, we are creating a zone. We are creating a zones in such a way that the smoke remains confined. It doesn't travel throughout wherever that finds a space. We are managing it, we are controlling it. And how we are going to control it? By managing the pressure. Because again, if you look at my previous session, science and engineering, this is a smoke science, how it travels from low to high. So that's how we are going to build that pressure in such a way that smoke remains confined in an area where there is a fire. Then you have got smoke exhaust on top of it inside the building area. Depends on the zoning that you do. Suppose you have a high-rise building, you create that zone in a way that the third floor will not travel the smoke to the fourth level or fifth level. So we are creating a zone, horizontal zones. How we are going to create a zone? You are creating by applying the exhaust fans, by the smoke dampers. So in case that smoke happens, it gets automatically routed and going through the shaft, going outside the building. It is not going into the building. So this is again third area that we are going to manage, or third component that we are going to manage, is by getting into exhaust or ventilation system in the building, so that the floor wise or plant wise smoke remains confined. Yeah. And then on top of it, the smoke control system also need to have communication. The phones, how we are going to be communicating that, whether your PA system is part of it, your fire alarm system is part of it. So again, this is what you are going to alert the occupants, or even in case of fire. Suppose there is a smoke control system that you already have and your fans are on. Fire tender comes in, fire officers can come in, they can look at your fire alarm panel or your smoke extraction panel and see which fan is on, which area is to be safe for them to enter. Because smoke management is not only for the occupant, it is of course important for occupant to egress, but on top of it is also equally important for fire rescue or fire tender. When they enter into the building to fight and rescue, first they have to ensure which area is safe for them to enter. Because we have seen in past, there are many incidences happening where fire officers, they themselves been the victim of it. Because there was no smoke management system in the building, they didn't know how to enter and when to enter. There was no oxygen available and the smoke was trapped and they were trapped into the building. So this is the one which is very, very communication, which is going to be helping the fire rescue people. In case you have that integration done, they can actually identify which fan to be switched on, which zone is safe, which zone is not safe. Yeah. And your sprinkler systems, your sequence has to be in such a way that your sprinkler system is been operated based on your cause and effect diagram. So this is what your entire components of your smoke management is all about, which has to be engineered, Then let us look at what are the components that in further detail we are looking at. When you are looking at this system as a part of communication system or complementing system to your smoke extraction systems, what are those ingredients, what are those components involved? First, when you look at the smoke extraction system, or sorry, stairwell pressure systems, essentially what we are looking at is basically extraction fans. Which is the location where we are going to place that extraction fan? What is that RPM? What is that CPM, CFM that I'm going to have for extraction fan? What is my calculation done for right sizing? That's very important. Because we are creating a differential pressure, and that differential pressure only can be achieved when you do that engineering calculation done rightly. Your fire doors, which is going to be the interface between your lobby and the staircase. If you keep the door open, the stabilization will it work? No, it will not have that efficiency because you will have a lot of smoke or air to compensate in that pressurization. So pressurization difference, what we are looking at 50 Pascal, will not be achieved if you have a door which is going to be kept open. So fire door management is also part of your smoke management. It has to be taken into consideration. If you don't take that into consideration, then your pressurization calculation also will be failed. Then your dampers, how we are allowing these systems to ventilate between the floors. How we are going to manage? By using the dampers. So the damper is the one that you are going to operate automatically and taking the input from fire alarm system, which will open and close so that it creates that pressure and it doesn't allow the smoke to pass through from one area to the other area. Elevator, lift, well pressurization. Again, you need to have a vent, a shaft which is going to be taking that pressurization done and which is going to create that pressure, positive pressure inside the hoist way, and that's how you need to build that system. So you need to have shaft, you need to have fans attached to it, which is going to create that pressure. If you have AHU systems, how it is going to be managed using the dampers? What are the ducts that you are going to place? Are you going to create AHU system in a centralized way so that a return air will take the smoke from anywhere and everywhere? No, it cannot be done. So when you are designing your AHU systems, of course that's part of the HVAC design, but from smoke, from fire and life safety perspective, you have to see that it is having flexibility so that we are able to operate those AHU dampers through dampers, and we are going to restrict the fresh air not to enter in case of fire. At the same time, we are taking out the smoke through these ducts. So opening and closing the duct dampers is going to be the part of AHU system management. So if you look at it, it is little complex to understand, but you can always simplify the system by way of engineering. So if you have one fire and life safety expert or one coordinator who's going to understand the smoke wells coming in from HVAC, coming in from electrical perspective, then you can have all integration possible. Let's look at it in reality, how this is going to work. Now, dampers, which are basically placed on AHUs, those are their job is to opening and closing. Now, when to open, when to close, who will decide? Fire alarm system will decide. So essentially, we are talking about integration between fire alarm and HVAC system. And what is the catalyst in between? Your dampers. Now, if you have a system, AHU system, typically in a high-rise building, and if you don't have dampers, what will happen? This is how it will happen. You have a supply side and you have got a return side, right? Air handling unit. So supply means that is what is supplying the air and taking out the air from this specific area. Now, if there's a fire on second floor, if you don't have dampers, immediately it will take from the supply side and take the smoke to the adjoining floor. So this is what happens when you don't have a smoke dampers in your AHU systems zone wise. Visa wise, if you have a dampers in place, if there is a fire here, what we are doing is that we are going to shut that damper so that the smoke will not travel from this floor to other floor. You are going to have this return duct open so that the smoke is going to vent out, but it will not pass through from this opening area, adjoining area. So dampers are very, very important. Now, how many facilities that you see around where this concept being used in India? It is not new. It is already specified in the codes and standards, in local codes and standards, in global codes and standards. Why we don't implement it? Because it needs coordination between HVAC and fire. And fire, we just focused on fire sprinkler, hydrant, and fire alarm, not to the level of this integration part. We miss out. And that's how the fire accident happens, because we are not able to manage the smoke. And it's a very simple way to do it. Diagram, if you look at it, this is so simple. Just place the dampers, connect with the fire alarm systems, have the integration done, test the system well, how you are going to be managing your supply and return, finish. But it can save a lot of lives. Let's look at another idea, pressurization. Now, when you talk about building pressurization, not only just the stairway pressurization, there are areas where inside the building, based on occupancy, you need to pressurize, specifically hotels area, hospital area, where you cannot expect the smoke on the floor to remain there. It has to be pressurized in such a way that it doesn't travel from one floor to other area, or from one area to adjoining area horizontally, because the area itself is big. And that's how the codes and standards restricting the smoke compartmentation using not more than 750 to 2000 square meter area compartmentation. For basement, it is different index. For rest of the floor, it is different index. For car park, it is different index. For non-car park area in the basement, it is different index. And where it is coming from? It is coming from the compartmentation. Now, what is compartmentation? Let's understand compartmentation. Compartmentation is nothing but we are trying to do what? Containment of the smoke into that area itself. Now, how do you do that? There are multiple ways: passive ways, active ways. Now, passive ways is what? You create a firewall itself from all four sides of, say, 2 hour rated. It remains there. If it is server room, I don't know, you must have heard that you need a fire rating of 2 hour to enclose that server room, because that's the most critical area, that's the more fire prone area. And in case there is a fire happens, if you have a wall, civil wall, which is going to be giving a 2 hour rated fire rating, the fire and smoke contains there only. It doesn't go out for at least 2 hours. By that time, the fire tender can come, or you can fight the fire. 2 hours is a long period. So this is one way, passive. You create what? Wall, or maybe a fire curtain. Certain ways that you can actually now allowed as fire curtains, where you can have the desired rating from 1 hour to 3 hours, and you create that fire rating, which will be operated by the fire alarm, and you confine that smoke into that area, which is going to be given in the codes and standards. So if it is the car park, which is basement area, which is where NBC currently says that 2000 square meter area is the one that is going to be the 3000 square meter area is the one that they have mentioned as the confined area. If it is other than car park, 2000 square meter area. If it is ground floor, again based on the occupancy classification, it can vary from 750 to 2000. Like typically malls, retail, hotel, where horizontally it's a big wide area. And if you don't have the fire rating, that means a confined area with either a fire rating, the smoke will travel horizontally everywhere. And then managing the smoke and managing the fire for fire rescue people will be very difficult. So globally, fire officers are very, very fussy about managing and studying the passive rating of your building, how your fire and smoke is confined. And that's how you need to see that it is confined. Now, when you have this kind of a system, which is typically a temperature controlled HVAC system, and that to an AHU control systems, you need to see that your smoke dampers are going to do a job effectively, so that it will open the return path, it will close the supply path. Why it is required? Because the moment you close supply path, you are restricting the oxygen to come in. You are restricting the air to come in so that the fire doesn't get propagated. And what is it coming from? Science, fire science, triangle. Oxygen is one element, right? We have studied it. So we are disconnecting that air supply. That means we are restricting the fire itself. It's a passive way. But this is a passive way, what? By mechanical. You already have a firewalls there, but on top of it, if you have openings through ducts, smoke is going to pass through. So you need this mechanical way or engineered way to manage your smoke. So typically, what you are doing it here, you are creating a positive pressure on this floor, on this floor, on this floor, and this floor. So plus what you see on the upper floors and down floor, you are creating a positive pressure. Here you are going to create a negative pressure. And how you are going to create negative pressure? By opening the exhaust out. Simple logic. So once you open this exhaust return path, your smoke is going to go out of the building. Your supply air is still on, but then it is on in the rest of the floor, but it is closed in the fire floor, in the design fire. Yeah. So by opening this, we are creating a positive pressure, but the area where there's a fire, we are going to create a negative pressure. So that's how you are managing. Create a positive pressure in adjoining area so that the smoke doesn't travel. Very, very simple question, simple element. Any questions so far in understanding this? Yeah, Mr. Kolita says smoke is not controllable, so you need to manage. Absolutely. Yeah, you need to manage it. But it's in a way that it is controlling by mechanical way, by engineering way. So that's what we are trying to do, this all logic, we are controlling it only. But uncontrolled smoke, yes, you cannot really have any engineering controls also, but you have to prepare your risk and what is the maximum risk that you can have based on which you can manage it. Yeah. Good. Any questions so far till now in understanding the pressurization, understanding the smoke management, flow, smoke control, anything thought? Yeah, so no questions. So I believe it is either understood correctly or you are not understood anything. Only these two concepts that I can have. But I think I'm trying to make it very simple so that even non-technical person can understand it. And as a user, our attempt is not to get into the design aspect right now because that's not my intent even here to explain you the smoke control calculations, what are the tools and techniques. Understand fundamentally what is it. Once your fundamentals are clear in understanding the smoke management, then you can use your engineers, use your expertise, use your resources to manage it. That's how it is. Yeah, but all important aspect that I want to highlight here is that this is purely engineering way. You cannot apply standard rules that, okay, I understand today smoke dampers are going to do a job. Okay, let me install smoke dampers everywhere throughout the building. That's not a right way. As I mentioned to you in the previous slide, it is to be coordinated with auxiliary systems. Unless until you have that integration done, it is not going to be possible in making sure that your smoke management is going to be effective or efficient. Yeah. So let's look at the other scenarios. Corridor. Now in hotels specifically, corridor also need to be pressurized because your lift well is pressurized, your lift lobby is pressurized, your stairway is pressurized. So you can't really keep your corridor as naturally ventilated. It has to be pressurized. And specifically on a high-rise hotels and buildings, you can't have natural ventilation done. It has to be temperature controlled lobby. In that case, pressurization is going to be very, very critical. Now, how do you do that? Again, it's a simple logic. Play with the dampers, play with the ventilation systems, create a positive pressure for the adjoining areas and negative pressure inside the area which is under fire. So if this area is under fire, this room specifically is under fire, and this room is coordinating with this corridor, what I am going to do is that this corridor is going to be negatively pressurized. So you are going to open this damper to allow the smoke to go out. At the same time, we are restricting the supply in from here. So when you are creating this zone as supply and return duct, you are placing those smoke dampers on the duct in a such a way that fire alarm system will activate automatically this opening and closing. This is opening and closing. And that's how you manage the smoke. So the smoke remains confined to this floor only. It doesn't travel through any ducts, through any HVAC system which is centralized, and it will make more damage. Yeah. So this is a concept which is called pressurization, which is corridor. Again, using the same smoke dampers that is part of your HVAC system. And your pressure differential system.
So you're not audible clearly. So your voice is not audible.
Protected, we are creating the pressurization. By means of depressurization, where the unprotected space is depressurized, the unprotected space where there is no fire, we are going to create the depressurization. So this is what you are going to play with this, and how you are going to play with this, you are by designing the fire. Because fire can happen in any of the corner. It can happen in corridor, it can happen in one of the room, it can happen in the lobby, it can happen in staircase also. There are very less chances that staircase can happen fire, because as long as you don't keep any consumables or combustible materials or any interior that's hot, which is purely a staircase protected lobby or protected area, then there are no chances of smoke there happening, but still it can happen. So this is how you need to see that, where you need to create pressurization, where you need to create depressurization. Wherever there is a depressurization happen, that means you are going to switch on the exhaust, smoke is going to go out. Pressurize, that means you are going to be adjoining area where you are going to create a pressure positive, and that's how you are going to create this pressurization in that area which is protected. Yeah. So essentially, this is how it works. The area which is under fire, you are going to depressurize it, the exhaust fan in the lobby, stairwell lobby, and here you are going to create a positive pressure in the adjoining area. So this is how you're balancing or managing your smoke. This is a supply fan which is going to create the positive head in the pressure stairwell pressurization, and this is your lift. Yeah. Depressurization, again you are going to do the same thing, but there is no supply here. It's only exhaust which is on. Vis-a-vis in pressurization, you have a supply fan here. So that means mechanically you are injecting a fresh air to restrict the smoke not to enter from the area which is under fire. Vis-a-vis in depressurization, we are not using any injecting air. We are just taking the exhaust on, and we are expecting the smoke to go out. So there are multiple ways of managing the smoke. I think I will show you the clip. Probably that will that will explain this concept well. Let me just show you the video which is going to explain this concept well. Yeah. Give me a concept. Okay. So I will just share the screen. One second. Yeah. Afrin, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
This is coming from one of the OEM, but very beautifully explain the concept of pressurization. There is no audio here, just a video. So there is a fire, there's a fire alarm which is ringing the bell. You have a staircase, you have a supply fan, which is part of your pressurization system. You are starting building the pressure into the staircase lobby. Started creating the differential pressure, what I explained to you. We are expecting in staircase by local law 50 Pascal. So that's how we are building the differential pressure between staircase and the lobby, so that the smoke will not enter. People have started evacuation. The fire door, which is going to be normally closed, but when you have pressurization, you should maintain that pressure in a such a way that it is not be more than 100 pounds. That's very important, because if you pressurize other end too much, then you need a lot of force to open that door. So this is again important element to test the system. So what is happening here is that the moment people start using the fire door, there'll be a situation that there'll be some loss in air, loss in pressure. So you create that duct in a such a way that it is going to compensate. At the same time, you create the differential fans in a such a way that it will compensate that air. So the fans will start running more higher CFM, so that the loss of that air which will happen through the opening door, which will get compensated. And that's how you are going to create that differential pressure constantly throughout that evacuation process. And this is a final exit discharge. Again, there will be some loss of air because you are going to use that door to go out. Again, the differential pressure will take pressure. So it's a very engineered way. It has a variable differentiator fan drive, which will take care of that losses, and it will maintain that differential pressure of 50 Pascal throughout your evacuation time. Now the evacuation time can be 5 minutes, it can be 50 minutes. It doesn't have any rule. As long as you have certain occupancy available, you have to make sure that all people are evacuated during that process. So that's when we give 2-hour rating for the fire retard, because we expect maximum 2 hours is the egress time, available safe egress time. And that's how you are going to have that fire rating done. And within 2 hours, you expect that entire building can be evacuated safely. I'm sure you must have also learned from World Trade Center case study, where they have scientifically proven that it is designed in a phased evacuation way, where 157 minutes was their evacuation time. 157 minutes. And that's how their fire rating was not just 2 hours, it was 3 hours. But in India, NBC, National Building Code 2016, most of the cases in specifically staircases, lobby, we have given 2 hour fire rating because we expect that the worst scenario that can happen within 2 hours, people can evacuate the building. Yeah. So that's how we come up with the uh, passive protection compliances so that it is going to meet that requirement in both way. So passive is that you create a structure in a such a way that it is going to restrict the fire and smoke for a certain period. And then engineered way is this, using the pressurization, using the dilution, using the extra exhaust fan technique, and you manage the smoke within less than 2 hours time so that everything can happen. This is again another case study that I wanted to share, uh, specifically in a horizontal area, or say cinema theater specifically, where you expect a false ceiling which is probably perforated. Then you have a main ceiling, but how do you manage the smoke? So there is a concept called smoke barrier that you see in the yellow color. This is the smoke barrier. Now this is basically nothing but a downward projected structure, which is again a fire rated. By creating that downward structure, what will happen? The smoke, which is going to be having a property to go up all the time, the moment it hits to the main ceiling, it will horizontally find a space. The moment again it hits to a smoke barrier, it will take time to confine that area. The moment it hits to the smoke barrier, it will not go to the adjoining area. So how do you achieve that smoke compartmentation? By creating the smoke barriers. In a lot of occupancies, I don't know whether you noticed this smoke barrier in metros. Again, it is a requirement by NBC, and you will see the metro station, you will find the smoke barriers. Now, you might not even realize this structure which is coming downward. What is it? Maybe you will consider that is part of interior. But now, since you have learned today, this is actually intended to what? Restricting the smoke. Because the moment you create smoke barrier, you are creating a pocket. And why pocket? Because then at least you have sufficient time to manage that smoke. It is not going to be horizontally in haphazard way, and then you are not able to evacuate, or you are not able to help the fire tender to come and rescue. So this is how you need to manage your smoke by multiple ways, and this is all engineered ways. Now here in this specific case, since it is a perforated ceiling, you expect smoke to anyway go up inside the ceiling void area. You have to protect it with the sprinklers. You have to protect with detectors. The moment there's a smoke, the detector is going to come into operation first. The ventilation is going to be operating second, and then there will be a delay in sprinkler discharge. So you need to see that there should not be delay in sprinkler discharge also. At the same time, there should not be delay in activation of smoke also, because this is what challenge comes in. The moment you have a ventilation system on first, then smoke is going to go out, and eventually your temperature is going to get reduced, isn't it? But suppose your sprinkler is not talking to ventilation and sprinkler is independently working, it is going to wait for smoke to accumulate to the level where it will reach to 68-degree temperature, then it will discharge. And by that time you switch on the ventilation systems, it will be ineffective, because by that time smoke spread was already gone. You will not have that effective ventilation possible in the water discharge scenario. So that's what you need to see, that how your integration in a such a way that it is not conflicting, it is complementing. So you have sprinklers which are fast response at ceiling void area, you have fast response sprinkler at room void area at a very specified distance, and that's how you manage your smoke in a such a way that it will not only accumulate, but it will be taken out using the exhaust fans. You also have a shaft, which is the exhaust duct, and that exhaust duct will take the smoke out of the building. So this is how you need to engineer the system in specific theaters, cinema theaters, where you have ceiling void area. Because of the interior, you don't want that the ducting to be seen. So you need to have a ceiling. So if you have a ceiling which is probably perforated ceiling because of the what that audio uh, audio complementarity, maybe it has to be that um, what is the specific word that they use is basically for not having the echo. So there is a specific ceiling that has been used in those theaters, and this is perforated. But the moment you have perforation, which is more than 25%, then the smoke anyway is going to go out. Then you need to manage the smoke even ceiling void areas. You can't just keep it there unprotected. You have to provide the sprinkler there, you have to provide detector there, you have to have an exhaust fan there, and that's how you manage the smoke. Another example, like a retail area, which is again a very, very complex. You see, most of the malls in India are horizontally dispersed. Now, again, managing the smoke will be a very big challenge. If you don't have this concept using the smoke barriers or creating the zones in a confined area, then it will be haphazard. So there are multiple ways, and it's not that I can actually give you the complete engineering right now how to manage the smoke in detail, because it is a very, very detailed engineering. First and foremost, what is important, I can tell you, is that you need to make these zones according to your occupancy. Your zone classification must follow the codes and compliances. Now there are building occupancy which are defined in NBC. If suppose this is the occupancy as the mercantile, then there is a certain cap that has been given by the code that it should not be more than 1300 or 1100. So when that input coming to you from NBC that this is my limit, then it is important for you to play on those limits by using smoke barriers, or by creating the fire curtains, or by creating the walls which are 2-hour rated. So here, if suppose you have a ceiling void area which is uniform, which is not partitioned from the ceiling void perspective, it is only partitioned from the room void perspective, then how do you manage the smoke? Because you still need to compartment on the ceiling void area. And how do you do that? You have to do that with the smoke barriers. When you have the smoke barriers, it will restrict that smoke in a confined area, in an area which is confined, and then you take that smoke out through exhaust fans, and that's how you manage your smoke in the ceiling void area. So these are various techniques which are to be thoughtfully decided and engineered during your strategy. So whole point that I wanted to highlight here is that there are engineered ways and means to manage your smoke, but if you don't focus smoke, because you have never experienced that smoke in before, you just focus on your fire fighting equipment and system, then that's a missing area. Basement area specifically is a very, very vulnerable area where you need to manage the smoke. You need to monitor it, you need to control it. The lift well, the shaft, the staircase, the ceiling void, these are again pockets where you need to see carefully how my smoke is going to be traveling and from where, horizontally, vertically. Fire doors are very, very important, and again it is complementing your smoke compartmentation. But if you have a fire door which is not auto door closed, that means it doesn't have an auto door closure mechanism, again it's a failed mechanism. Doesn't matter how expensive and how UL and FM rated fire door that you may have, but during the maintenance, if the lever is broken, the auto door closure is broken, and it is kept open condition, it's a null and void. It's not complied situation. because smoke is going to be throughout. It is allowing smoke to travel from lobby to staircase easily if it is open. Yeah. So there are very specifically in NBC local India codes have been given, which we need to define it. I can tell you that also the NBC doesn't give you fulfill answer. It doesn't give you complete engineering that what is the requirement in terms of smoke management. There are skill gaps there also. That's how your performance based design comes in play. That's how your computational fluid dynamics CFD analysis, which is again a smoke management tool that is being used globally. In India it is catching up. People are investing on that. That's more scientific way to exercise and plan how my smoke is going to be traveling and how I'm going to be restricting where, like typically atrium area. It's a very area which is difficult to understand the smoke. Usually in atrium you have only smoke exhaust fans on the top and that's about it. Maybe one fan, two fan, that's about it. But what is that location? Is there a smoke barrier on the atrium side also where maybe the food court area is connected? Maybe you have got atrium lobby, but which is not separated from the lobby and atrium area with the sprinkler system or water curtain system. So these are the very minute things that looks practically that people may not even adapt it, but in reality, when smoke happens, it happens with the natural science. It is going to travel vertically, and wherever it obstruct, it goes horizontally. So fire sealant, fire doors, your fire rating, the uh, uh, passive materials are going to play a vital role. On top of it, the engineering control as the smoke management systems, like your smoke dampers, fire dampers, your lift well pressurization, stairwell pressurization, your smoke management controls, everything is again going to be part of your entire system as a system, so that in case of any eventualities, it can take care of it. So this is the NBC clause table 6, which has been given based on occupancy. You can actually have pressurization or naturally ventilators. Again, option is open to some occupancy other than residential, where you have an option to use either natural ventilated lobby or cross ventilated, staircase, not lobby, staircase. So these are the table for lift lobby. If you have a lift lobby, again, it can be naturally ventilated or pressurized, depends on the height of the building. This is again a code guideline that has been given. But if you look at this table 6 given as a part of NBC, it doesn't give you a complete clarity in terms of your pressurization or not pressurization. There are many areas where you have a natural ventilated corridor, but maybe your lobbies are air controlled. Your stairwell is again naturally ventilated, but your air lobby is pressurized. So how do you manage it? So this is what you need to do, a performance-based design, and you need to see that you create a differential pressure in a such a way that if your lobby is pressurized, your stairwell also must be pressurized. Now there is no residential area that has been classified here as a high-rise building specifically with in terms of pressurization, but you need to see as an engineer, if suppose you have a residential building which is going to be more than 30 meters, then how do I apply this logic here? You can't have this loophole saying that no, here it is exception given as a residential building. But smoke can happen there, fire can happen there. So how do I use this techniques? It's all your engineer choice. And this is again your part of fire strategy. So this is just a basic, because NBC doesn't look at as a extraordinary buildings, but on a piece of paper, generically, if you look at it, this is the guideline being followed in terms of pressurization of staircase, where you to do and where not to do. Natural ventilated, when you mention here, there's a specific guideline that they're given in NBC is 0.5 square meter opening. It can be cross ventilated on the same area or external wall. So 0.5 square meter is the minimum that they're given. But there may be area where you have a very staircases which are going to be pretty large. In that case, probably you need to go more than 0.5 square meter area. And if you don't get a cross ventilated lobby, natural ventilated lobby, you need to see on the same wall, you need to construct more than 0.5 square meter area. So this is all again part of your engineering, how you are going to create that natural ventilated, how you are going to create your pressurized ventilation, how it is going to complementing your lobby, how it is communicating to your fire detection and fire protection system. So this is all about engineering. I have a throat problem, so I may not able to extend much, but I think we can have question and question open question answers right now on this topic. But before end, I will definitely leave these questions for you to think over and look at your facility and retrospect. What is my fire protection strategy? Do I include fire smoke management into that fire protection strategy or not? Or it is just limited to only active systems? What is my smoke controls? Is it adequate? I given only one exhaust fan, but is it really adequate to take the smoke out? What is the CFM? What is the location of that exhaust fan? Even if I have a pressurization system, my supply fan is not adequate enough to create the differentiation of 50 Pascal. Is there any CFD that I have done? Is there any calculation that I have done to authenticate the CFM rating of that supply fan? Otherwise, it has no meaning. What is the logic of smoke management at my workplace? Is it standalone, manual, or is it talking to auxiliary systems like fire detection systems, HVAC systems, sprinkler systems, smoke management control fans, and stuff like that? Because so far, I think we have learned it is an integrated approach. It is not a standalone approach. Ventilation must talk to the auxiliary systems to make it effective. So these are the three questions that you need to ask yourself when you are responsible for your facility. Doesn't matter whether you are a security person or a fire person, but these are the key questions which will awaken your mind. And till the fire happens, till the smoke actually you can see lively, you will not know how to manage it. But look at the case studies in and around and see how difficult and complex to manage the smoke. And then you realize the importance of smoke management into your into your fire protection strategy as such. Any questions so far? Any questions? Please feel free to ask me. I have a throat issue, so I will not be able to talk much today. So bear with me, but I can answer any specific question in terms of smoke management, in terms of fire protection strategy that you have. Please feel free to ask. Yeah, Mr. Reddy, you had a question? Any question, Mr. Reddy? Okay, so you're not able to unmute it. Okay. Mr. Madan Mandodkar is there. Okay, Mr. Madan Mandodkar, he asked a question. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Yogendra.
आवाज आ रही है सर? अच्छा, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ स्मोक कंट्रोल्स?
ओके, मैंने शुरुआत में ही बताया था स्मोक मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम ये
Yes, sir.
टॉपिक, राइट? So smoke management system माने क्या है? Smoke management system is basically doing two jobs. One is monitoring it. That means आप देख रहे हैं smoke आपकी building में कहाँ से आ सकता है, कैसा travel करेगा. And then second part is controlling it. Control माने आपको स्मोक को क्या रखना है, अगर काबू रखना है. दैट मीन्स आपको कंटेनमेंट रखना है, आपको एक ही जगह पे उसको कंटेन करके रखना है, या उसको आपको एक्सट्रैक्ट करने का है, बाहर लेके जाना है बिल्डिंग के. तो इसी को स्मोक कंट्रोल बोलते हैं. यू कांट हैव अ कंट्रोल ऑन योर कंबशन प्रोसेस. अगर आपके पास एक स्टोरेज वेयरहाउस है या स्टोरेज है आपकी बिल्डिंग में,
Yes, sir.
और वो स्टोरेज ऐसा है, कंबस्टिबल आइटम है, इट कैन बी वुड, क्लॉथ और एनी लिक्विड और एनीथिंग. If there is any ignition, it will take fire and it will burn everything.
Yes, sir.
We don't have control on combustion process. But आपके ऊपर क्या कंट्रोल है? आपको वो स्मोक आने के बाद उसको कन्फाइन करने का आपका कंट्रोल है. तो कन्फाइन कैसा कर सकते हैं आपको? अगर वो स्टोरेज को आप फायर रेटेड वॉल के साथ बंद करेंगे, फायर डोर के साथ बंद करेंगे, आपका स्मोक और फायर बाहर नहीं आएगा, टेम्परेचर बाहर नहीं आएगा. That's
Okay.
one. सेकेंडली आपके पास अगर वेंटिलेशन सिस्टम है तो उसका स्मोक ऐसा कीजिए कि विच विल नॉट गो टू द नेक्स्ट एडजॉइनिंग एरिया.
Okay.
आप कंट्रोल ही कर रहे हैं, राइट. सो आपको कंट्रोल माने रेगुलेट कर रहे हो उसको.
Okay.
यू आर रेगुलेटिंग स्मोक बेस्ड ऑन योर नीड. एंड व्हाट इज योर नीड? टू प्रोटेक्ट लाइफ एंड प्रॉपर्टी.
Okay.
गॉट इट?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
थैंक यू. Okay, Mr. Madan has asked me a question on a Q&A session. Atrium. What about atrium? So, typically, atrium has got a typical requirement that is been used as the exhaust fan on the top. And I let me see whether I can show him the case so that he can probably understand that better. So I will just show you him atrium. How does it manage in the atrium specifically? Now NBC, if you look at the code, National Building Code 2016 Part 4, they have specifically covered the atrium protection. Now in atrium, what is the challenge here? That you have got a high ceiling area. Now being in high ceiling area, first any fire that can happen. Now if you look at the hotel or mall, in entrance lobby you have a big atrium, and for architectural perspective they provide that high ceiling area which is sky glazing on the top. But maybe there is a Christmas tree there in the main entrance and the fire happens in the Christmas tree itself. Then how we are going to protect it? So question remains that first you need to have a smoke barriers on the place which is communicating to the adjoining area. That's number one. Number two, you need to see that your exhaust fan are working in such a way that you are able to restrict that smoke not going to the adjoining area. So I'll typically show you right now the one extract where they can understand. So now this is the extract that you can see it on the screen. Yeah, you can see, Afrin?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is a typical atrium area. That is a question from Madan, where you have skylight glazing and you have atrium which is long ceiling height. So essentially you create a smoke barrier which is going to confine the smoke on the top so that it doesn't go to the food court area or corridor area or lobby area which is passing through. So throughout area. On top of it, NBC 2016 have clearly demarcated that this area as the area which is talking to corridor or lobby on this area, it must be separated. Now, how you separate it? By providing the sprinkler system on this, either a glass partition here or here. You provide a sprinkler system in a such a way that it will activate and it is going to create a shield so that the smoke and heat doesn't pass to the adjoining area. So it is confined to only atrium area. And again, you are going to create a negative pressure by activating this exhaust fan out so that it is taking the smoke out. So essentially what we are talking about in atrium, you need to have a first detection system to monitor the smoke. You need to have a sprinkler system, not on the ceiling area. This is not, again, optional. This is not mandatory in NBC. Sprinkler system in adjoining area where you have a glass partition, which is part of your lobby or corridor area. And then you have a smoke management system using ventilation with exhaust fan, the smoke barriers, the fire rated doors, whatever that you have, fire sealing. So this is how essentially you're communicating the atrium protection. Yeah. So I thought I have answered. He's not there right now. So okay. So any other questions I can quickly take? Yeah. Okay, so I'm lowering the hand. So in case you have any questions, you can ask. Right, so no questions. Very good. So I would like to conclude the session that so far we have covered the fire protection strategy, covering the active and passive element of it. Now next week we are going to touch upon on the security strategy, which is again a complementing on your fire protection strategy. What is that security is all about? What do you mean by security? It is beyond CCTV and access, and then what are the ingredients of it? So we'll focus on those engineering aspects of security management so that you can understand that that system better, and we can have Q&A on security management also. So please feel free to ask any questions in between on the group that we have. We'll be more than glad to answer in case you have any questions on those topics. So thank you very much again for your time, consistency, and contribution. Keep seeing you again and again every Sunday 11:30. Spread the word into the industry on the like-minded people so that every industry in this country can help and upgrade and upskill the knowledge on safety and security. So we'll conclude with our national anthem. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. See you next Sunday, 11:30.